Good evening. The following is a live broadcast for the City of Kingsport Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Board meetings are regularly scheduled on the first and third Tuesdays of each month at 7 p.m. In advance of the BMA meeting, a copy of the agenda is available for inspection at the Kingsport Public Library, City Hall, or online at kingsporttn.gov.
Good evening. Welcome to the Kingsport Board of Mayor and Alderman business meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 3rd. This is the meeting where we actually vote on items that affect our citizens. The first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, led by Ms. Nia Alshai, followed by the invocation. Please remain standing, and then we'll have the roll call.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Paul, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Please join me in prayer. Father God, we come this evening thanking you for your blessings that you've given to each one of us in this building tonight. Father, we pray that you will oversee the proceedings that we take place here this evening, that we will do things that are pleasing unto you. Father, we also pray for each alderman that's here and the mayor. Continue blessing their lives, giving them strength to do the things that you've called them to do, called us to do. And Father, we just thank you that you've got so many citizens who are involved in the process. Thank you, Father, that you've given us another day of election today. We pray that the outcomes will be pleasing, and we do all this in your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
Mayor Schul.
Here.
Vice Mayor George.
Here.
Alderman Cooper. Here. Alderman Montgomery.
Here.
Alderman Alterman.
Here.
Alderman Phillips.
Here.
By my reckoning, 6 of the 7 elected members are present. Pardon me, I'm going to go up here toward the podium and introduce Ms. Alshai to the board.
I recognize that last name.
Yeah, I know you do. Need to come on up here. You know, it's been our great honor to recognize some outstanding Dobbins Bennett students, principally the last few weeks, athletes, including wrestling team and the basketball team, and they've both done great. But we have another outstanding Dobbins Bennett student with us here tonight, Miss Nia Alshai, who's a junior at DB. In fact, I saw her Sunday. She got a history award while I was there to give an award to a graduating senior. And Nia, let's see, you're 17 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
Come on up here and see if we can get you a little closer. Now, you know, I got clothes older than that. And you're a junior, as we said. Now, explain your title here, the Miss Tri-Cities Teen.
So I am Miss Tri-Cities Outstanding Teen, which means that I'm with the Miss Tennessee organization, which is a part of the Miss America organization, which gives scholarships to young women. I have been chosen to represent our great Tri-Cities area at the state level and hopefully make it to the national level as well.
Okay, great. Now, you're too young to compete in the Miss Kingsport and then on to Miss Tennessee.
Yes, the Miss level is for women ages 18 to 25, and I'm only 17, so therefore
Okay.
I'm in the teen category.
And your mom and dad are?
Nikki Alshai and Jim Alshai. My dad is the track coach down at Volunteer. He just recently won his first conference championship in both boys and girls, so
good.
he's doing real
Okay,
well.
yeah, but we like the school you picked.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and you also did a good job picking your grandparents. I noticed
Yes.
they're here tonight. Where's Randy and Beverly? There they are. A bunch of us know you two. Okay, and you've been active in a project to raise some money for getting us a new Bobcat at Bays Mountain.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So, as you all may or may not know, Kirby the Bobcat at Bays Mountain recently passed away a few months ago, And I read an article in the Times News about it. And after pondering on it, I thought, well, I want to do something to get a bobcat in Bays Mountain. Because growing up with my family, we always went to Bays Mountain, and we saw the bobcat, and we hiked around the trails, and it's just a very important part of our community here in Kingsport. So I am spearheading a fundraiser called Bob for Bays, which is working to get a new bobcat here at Bays Mountain for the city of Kingsport.
Okay, that's great. I'm going to ask you one more question. Tell us about your talent, because you got to have talent for these.
Yes, so talent is a big part of the Miss America organization competition. And I clog. I'm an 8-time national champion clogger. I've been with the Tennessee Hoedowners in Sir Groensville for 14 years now. So I've grown up with them, and clogging is a very important part of my life.
Well, great. We certainly have a lot of outstanding students in the Kingsport City School System, and you're one of them. And thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All righty.
All right, we have 2 recognitions or presentations on the agenda tonight. The first one, I'll ask Alderman Paul Montgomery if he'll make his way up to the podium. This is for National Drinking Water Week Proclamation, and Ryan McReynolds, our Deputy City Manager, will receive that proclamation.
Along with other members of Ryan's team, so I'm going to ask them to join me as well.
In fact, I'm going to let them join you.
That's fine.
That's fine.
We just wanted you to have to walk so far and go back.
How many of you knew that this was National Drinking Water Week? Okay, over the last 100 years, many improvements in health, success, and lifespan of us as the United States population can be linked to improvements in our water quality. Providing safe drinking water was one of the most important public health achievements of the 20th century. Water treatment has helped ensure access to healthy and safe water for millions of Americans. Now, guys, I'm going to read a proclamation here from the mayor. City of Kingsport Proclamation. Whereas, water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas drinking water serves a vital role in daily life, serving as an essential purpose to health, hydration, and hygiene needs for the quality of life our citizens enjoy. And whereas, tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and quality of life we enjoy. And whereas the hard work performed by the entire water sector, designing capital projects, operators ensuring the safety and quality of drinking water, or a member of the pipe crew maintain the infrastructure communities rely on to transport high-quality drinking water from its source to the consumers, taps, and whereas the coronavirus pandemic has shown a light on the importance of drinking water for health, hydration, and hygiene needs. And whereas we are stewards of the water infrastructure upon which current and future generations depend. And whereas the citizens of our city are called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, practice water conservation, and get involved with the water by familiarizing themselves with it. Now, therefore, I, Patrick W. Shull, Mayor of the City of Kingsport, and on behalf of the Board of Mayor and Alderman of the City of Kingsport, do hereby proclaim May 1st through the 7th, 2022, as Drinking Water Week in Kingsport, and encourage all citizens to spend time appreciating the hard work that goes into making drinking water readily available. Thank you. Congratulations, guys.
Our next item is for the Donald E. Hunter Excellence and Economic Development Award for the Brickyard Cement Hill Project, and Vice Mayor George will make her way to the podium. And I'm going to ask John and Stephen and Jessica, if you guys would please come up and join the Vice Mayor for this.
Thank you. You know, and I'm going to let you all carefully stand there and hold that. If you drop it, you're in trouble, not me. But, you know, it's great to be part of a city that we're always winning some kind of an award. I mean, we get things for something that the city's done really, really well. We get recognized when the high school does things, like win the basketball championship at the state, or have high school students that compete at a certain level. We get a lot of recognition regionally for like our farmers market and a lot of different awards based on region. We get a lot of things for the state of Tennessee, like Project of the Year for this building. You know, what else we did for the whole state. What we always get for our accounting, which is great, because we do great. But, you know, we get a lot of things, and the fire and the police get recognized a lot on the state level for doing so wonderfully. And this is actually a national award. So this is like an Oscar. So these people, even though nobody in the city of Kingsport is going to understand the importance of this award, this is being looked at a whole different level. We are being looked at as a city of Kingsport nationally for what we're doing. And this award was looked at over everything. And there was only one winner, and it was like us, which is fantastic. And people don't understand what an honor this is and what it does for our city to be viewed at this level. I have some things I have to say what this is, since nobody here is saying, oh, we won the Donald H. Hunter Excellence in Economic Development Award. So what this is, the award is named to honor Don Hunter, a longtime planner and economic developer who contributed a great deal of his time and wisdom to the APA, which is the American Planning Association, including serving as the chair of the division, and he passed away in December 30th, 2009. This award honors a project or program that demonstrates vision, leadership, innovation, and commitment to the field of economic developments that has a strong foundation in planning principles. Eligible nominations shall exemplify every single project element: high impact, originality, embrace equity and inclusion, high success, and demonstrate a significant contribution to the community. And what we submitted was the Brickyard Cement Hill project. And it said, this is a really big deal. And not that I did anything, they did a great job, and the staff really presented wonderful information. And this is such an honor, and I just want you all to know how much we appreciate all the work you all do. And we'll take one more award to put in our trophy cabinet. So, do you all want to say anything in regard to this? Take it.
It was an honor, but this award, as I shared with the KDV board earlier this morning, actually, is this started over a decade ago with the vision of needing to revitalize our downtown, purchase the General Shell property, the Miracle Field, the baseball fields, the skate park, the bicycle pump track, all that plays. We were just the ones that was able to put all that information together and present it, and we're proud to bring this home to Kingsport.
Tell them about the goats before you go.
The goats are scheduled to come back on May 7th, and they will stay until July 2nd to finish the job they started last year.
Because you don't want them there for the fireworks,
We do
right?
not want them there for the fireworks.
Thank you. You all did a great job.
Thank you.
Mr. City Manager?
All right, we have no appointments on tonight's agenda, so we'll move on to the approval of minutes. You have the work session on April 18th, 2022, and the business meeting on April 19th, 2022. We'd ask that you approve these minutes as submitted, please.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve both sets of minutes pertaining to the work session and the business meeting? Moved by Alderman, seconded by Alderman Phillips. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed 7-0. Next item.
Okay, we have 3 public hearings on the agenda tonight. We'll take each one of those individually. The first one is an ordinance to vacate a portion of Legion Drive and Midland Drive right-of-way, and Savannah Garland from our planning department will walk us through the public hearing. Savannah?
This is a request from the city of Kingsport to vacate the right-of-way on Legion Drive and Midland Drive. The area is approximately 13,038 square feet. Considering this is being considered excess right-of-way since the completion of the roundabout is now terminates Legion Drive. All city departments and utility providers have reviewed this request and have found no need to hang on to this. City departments, This excess right-of-way is now in the completion of the roundabout, which now terminates Legion Drive. During the April 21st, 2022 Regional Planning Commission meeting, they voted to send a favorable recommendation for the vacating to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and the notice of public hearing was published on April 16th of 2022.
Board, do you have any questions or concerns for Ms. Garland? If not, at this point, I declare that the public hearing is open, and any members of the public who wish to come forward and speak to this item, you may do so at this time. Anybody wish to come? If not, then the public hearing is closed, and Mr. Attorney, please publish the ordinance first reading.
An ordinance to vacate a portion of public right-of-way along Legion Drive and Midland Drive situated in the city of Kingsport, 11th Civil District of Sullivan County, and to fix a penalty for the violation of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Cooper. Is there any discussion? Let me add for our public that the board members have all had access to this information for several days. Then we followed that up by a one-on-one meeting between us and the city manager. Then we have a work session, which we had yesterday, and then finally the business meeting. So we're if it seems like we speed through some of these things, we're very familiar with the item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 6-0. Next item.
Next item is an ordinance to amend the zoning of Sullivan County Tax Parcel ID 076-001.00, located off Princeton Road, Newmore Road, and Sullivan Gardens Parkway from B4P, which is Planned Business District, to MX, or Mixed Use District. Ken Weems, our planning manager, will walk us through the public hearing.
Right, thank you so much. This is the Princeton Road rezoning, and you can see where the site is here on the vicinity map before you. It's right on Sullivan Gardens Parkway, right after you cross into Sullivan Gardens Parkway off of South John B. Dennis. The site itself, it fronts Newmore Road, Sullivan Gardens Parkway, as I mentioned, and of course Princeton Road as well. It's an approximately 25-acre site, and the request is from the current zone of B4P to our MX mixed-use district for the purpose of locating a truck terminal on the property. Taking a look at the aerial photo here, the aerial is still the same today. It's a large vacant field. And also on this aerial, you can see the flood zone on the southern portion of the rezoning site, approximately 400 feet wide to the southern boundary of the rezoning site. Of course, you can also see one of our sewer lines running through it, and also the gas station with the Arby's up there in the top right corner for a good reference. As with any rezoning application, also you have to accompany it with one of what we call a zoning development plan that shows how you conform to the zone that you propose or the zone that you're applying for. This one adheres to the MX zone standard. It's got the 30-foot buffer surrounding it, and you can see on this graphic here where the lone driveway cut would be onto Newmore Road. You can also see there Sullivan Gardens Parkway and Princeton Road for reference. This is such a large site that I wanted to provide a blow-up of the same zoning development plan that shows where the action would happen. You can see that entrance off Newmore Road where they'd have their parking, their truck parking in the rear, and their structure. You can also see it's the whole site surrounded by a 6-foot-tall chain link fence, vinyl coated. And of importance on that graphic, you can see that a flood zone to the south of it, and I just wanted to note that none of the proposal is going to occur inside that flood zone. They're avoiding it in its entirety. We did have one call in opposition to this rezoning that was received, and a total of 5 people spoke against the item at the Planning Commission meeting. During their April meeting, the Planning Commission did vote to send a positive recommendation to the board to rezone the property, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you, Board. Any questions or comments for Mr. Weems?
Ken,
Yes, ma'am.
as the zoning stands now, you said, I think you've got me. It could right now be a Walmart small store or a mobile home sales office as it is zoned currently.
All those, yes, ma'am, all that's correct. Some classic examples of our other B4P districts that contain entities would be like Eastone Commons, Neighborhood Walmart off Lynn Garden Drive, two classic examples. Both of those could go in here. Mobile home sales, equipment sales, correct, under the current zoning designation. Yes, ma'am.
And in the long-term planning maps, what was this property shown as? Was it,
It's appropriate for retail/commercial use.
Okay.
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other board members? Okay, then at this point in time, I declare that there's a public hearing open to discuss this particular item. If you wish to come forward to discuss it, please approach the podium and speak to the board. And for the record, ma'am, would you provide your name and address?
Yes,
Thank you.
sir. My name is Deborah Frazier. My address is 222 Sherry Street, Kingsport, Tennessee, 37660, and that property adjoins this property that's being considered for the rezoning request. I had emailed all of you earlier this week. I don't know if you got that or not, but I'm going to reiterate what I said in that email. I have several concerns. He mentioned flooding. I live in my property, since it does adjoin that, I see all the flooding that happens every time there's heavy rains. One of my concerns is that if there's lots of construction on that land, that water flow will come back on my property. It will cause the flooding that's already happening to be worse. That's a concern. I have concerns about property value decreasing, about reselling my property, that it would hinder the price or the opportunities. People might not want to purchase the property as well. I have several noise, lighting, traffic, smells, things like that, I think there are other businesses or other things that could go on that property besides a trucking transit that would benefit Kingsport greater than what this would. I do not wish to look out my back window and see trucks and all of the things that go along with it, 24/7 noise and lighting and things. And I just don't think that's an appropriate place to put a trucking transit. And I realize that the only way they can put one there is if you approve this zoning request or rezoning request. I realize that eventually at some point there will be some business there because it's a business district. But our little residential place is mostly quiet and peaceful, and it's just going to change it forever. It will alter it forever. And I'd just like you to consider how you would feel if that was your property, that it was adjoining, and would you want to see that there? And I don't, and that's why I'm here. I think that were most of my concerns. I'm sure there are others, but I appreciate you taking the time to listen.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Are there any other folks? Please come forward and state your name and address for the board. Before we get started, Mr. Williams, my understanding is that correct me if I'm wrong, that when we discussed this yesterday, that in regards to the potential flooding and so forth, that if the truck terminal goes in, that they have to prepare the land in such a way it doesn't make the situation worse.
Right, absolutely, and that holds true for any commercial development. You know, they all have to turn in civil engineering plans that demonstrate how they're not going to increase the runoff from what's there currently, in a nutshell.
Thank you.
That's the gist of it.
Good evening, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Amy Boone. I live at 225 Sherry Street. My concerns are, I've got several. What are they going to do with about the red light safety right there at Zoomers? You've only got a 2-lane road going in. People fly up and down Sullivan Gardens Parkway. And that's going to be a disaster right there. That's a major safety concern. We do, as far as Debbie was saying about the grade work, we do have like a little bit of a leeway because it's grass and it slows the water down. They get up there and they start excavating, all that water's going to come back on us again, even worse. The city won't even do it. We've got beavers building dams up there, and they won't even come by and clean them out. So that makes it even worse. They're Mr. Williams had told me that they were gonna be doing washing of the trucks, which Eagle Trucking is, I guess, tanker trucks. What are they gonna do with the discharge off of the water from those trucks? Is it going into the city sewer, or is it going into Horse Creek? Because if it goes into Horse Creek, then that's the matter of the water pollution control. And Mike, I guess my question is, why do they want to go into a residential area? Why can't they go over into the industrial park? Why don't they go on down Sullivan Gardens Parkway, which one's pretty much already set up for them? Why can't Eastman give them 3 or 4 more acres? You know, why do they want to come into a residential area? I don't want to listen to them. I don't want to smell the diesel. I don't want the lights. It's a very quiet neighborhood. And we have the privilege of having the lady here that's Cherry Street is named after, and she was born and raised there. And she doesn't want it. Trust me. Our land value will drop. I don't like that. You've got the people in the new subdivision that's off of Princeton didn't even get a letter. They didn't know anything about this. I went door to door knocking on people's door and giving them the letter, and the Reeds couldn't be here today because they're in Hilton Head. But none of them knew about this. And all their decks, brand new houses, they haven't lived in 6 months. All their decks look right over to that field. You're going to do away with all of our wildlife. I just don't see the reasoning behind all this. I mean, no offense, and I don't mean to sound smart aleck, but if they go into the industrial park, they go into the Eastman, they go on down to Sullivan Gardens, the city's still going to get their money. So, and again, I apologize, I didn't mean to sound smart aleck.
No, ma'am.
But, you know, they're still going to get the money. So, that's that.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Hetty Teague, and I live at 226 Sherry Street. I've lived there for approximately 42 years, and I will tell you that the whole field is a running river flood. It's went to my yard, my backyard. My yard joins that field, and I've seen it like that several times. And I'm concerned about changing the land and the parking lot and the paving, and that's the only house I'll ever have in my life, and I can't have a flood in my yard. And I'm concerned about the noise and the lights, and I think it'll devalue the property, and I'm like my 2 neighbors. There's other places besides right there in the middle of 2 red lights, Wilcox and the interstate. I used to work in town, and I used to see people run that red light every week on a weekly basis going to work. And they could build out in the fields on the interstate going from here to Washington County. There's no communities there. And back to the interstate on Wilcox, there's all kinds of motels now, 5 or 6 motels. They just built one behind Priceless Food. And there's a lot of traffic in that area anyway, but a lot of those people come, especially on the weekends or maybe Fridays. There's a lot of people that come in that area to go to swim meets at the Y. They go to Meadowview for everything, parties, weddings, expos, whatever, and they're not familiar with that area. They may live in Spartanburg, Asheville, or wherever. And then they got to deal with these trucks too. And there's a better place to build a trucking company beside a field that it's got a creek running through the middle of it, I guarantee you they will have a flood. I mean, I've seen it. I've been there long enough to see it. And I just don't want to be around the noise. Oh, and another thing, I wouldn't have even believed this if I hadn't experienced it. You talk about, well, maybe the trucks won't be that loud. They'll just be coming in and out. But I live in, as I say, behind that field, and I can sit on my deck in the summertime, and I don't hear people order food from Arby's. I can't hear what they're saying. But I hear the woman in the restaurant on the intercom saying, did you get a small fry or a chocolate milkshake? I can hear every word she says. So if I can hear her, I'm going to hear trucks. And I just think it's ridiculous. And my question to you, just like Debbie said, if you went home and you're sitting on your patio or your sauna or whatever you got, and you get this letter in the mail, I think you're going to be upset too. And I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other citizens wish to approach the board?
My name's Fred Height. I own the last 2 lots on Cherry Street, and there ain't no way that they can interfere with the water flow in Little Horse Creek. There's 4 houses on the other side of Princeton Road that cannot stand no more water. They can't back it up. They close the road every time it rains. They put roadblocks, and you can't. And if they do anything, they're going to interfere, and there's never been water on Cherry Street. And I lived there for 60-some years. And we've never had water back in them lots on Cherry Street. And if they interfere with the flow, they're going to back it up. And there's 4 houses on the other side of Princeton Road on this zone that cannot stand no more water. And if they back it up, it's going to flood them 4 houses and my 2 houses on Cherry Street.
Thank you, sir. Did you wish to add one more thing, ma'am?
Yeah, even on Princeton, they put barricades up when it rains and the field's full. They won't even let traffic drive down through there.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens wish to approach the board? Yes, sir. For the record, state your name and address.
My name is Jerry Petzel. I'm with TCI Group. I'm located at 236 Cumberland Street in downtown Kingsport. I'm a real estate broker, and I'm handling the transfer of ownership between the Childress family, who own a lot of property in that area. They have for years, and we are sensitive to the concerns of the neighborhood. Very normal for them to be concerned. The engineering that goes into a site like this has to be approved by the city engineers, and they're well aware of the challenges that site has and the requirements to control your stormwater. That's part of the development process and the planning that goes into this. About a year ago, Lance Cole, the president of Eagle Transport, called me up and said that they had been in, I'd never met Lance before, fine gentleman. He couldn't be here tonight. He apologized. But they've had a location off of Wilcox Drive for over 10 years. They haul material for Eastman Chemical. They've outgrown their site. They're doing pre-planning to expand their facilities because we have local expansion of Eastman, what they do in this area. And so they needed a 10-acre site. I found 4 sites. One site got sold. One site wasn't developable at all. It was rock and just so expensive to do. As you probably know, there's not an abundance of flat level sites anywhere in our market. They just don't exist. If they exist, then the sewer is not there. So we have searched and looked, and we know the market fairly well. My associate has been dealing with that property for over 10 years. We've had one serious interested user of that site, and it was a farming supply company that sold farming equipment. Under the MX zone, there's other uses that the property can be used for. Their use is it's a servicing. They wash the tanks out. What they haul is dry, but they have to wash the inside of the tanks out, and it does go into the collection basin and the city sewer system. All that's engineered. It's all permittable. They take great care in what they do. All the employees are local. They have about 34 trucks. They have 20-some of these sites around the southeast. They know how to operate them. They have automatic shutoffs on the trucks. They don't sit there and idle all night long like one might imagine. If they're idling for 5 minutes, they automatically turn off. With the price of gas, they don't want them idling at all. So the company is an excellent company. They're very sensitive, again, to the concerns of the neighborhood. Some of the things that they point out would happen with any development, whether it's a retail development, whether it's what was being proposed. They all have roofs, they all have paving, they all have buildings, and they all shed water. And the challenge is controlling your water so that it doesn't exceed pre-development levels. We all know that. So the contractor is here for the company and the local manager. If you have any questions about their operation, if you have any questions about the construction, they'd be glad to address those questions.
Thank you.
If not, I would respectfully ask for your vote to approve it. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like to approach us again, ma'am?
I actually got pictures on my phone of the flooding that happens on Sherry Street, if you all would like to look at them.
Well, we'll keep the proceedings going for right now, but thank you. Are there any other citizens that wish to approach the board? Please come forward and state your name and address.
I didn't bring any notes, so. But I'm Sherry Carver, and I live at 236 Sam Jenkins Road in Gray, and I own the house on 212 Sherry Street. My dad, I grew up there. I moved there in 1960. I was 5-year-old. Fred and Frank Childress owned the land behind us. We would sit in our yard, in our living room after rains, scared to death as kids growing up, years and years and years of this. Nothing was ever done. The water would come up to our house. It would come up between the other two houses. It would come up around that, up in that field there. It would come up around the other house. We were scared it was going to flood our house out. It's been going on like this since 1960 at least. And my dad lives there. He's 90-year-old. And all of them, none of the people want to be listening to that noise, that pollution. All that stuff's going to be going on over there, and the lights and everything else. This is a peaceful street. It's a dead-end street. And I just think that this is not fair to come in here and do this. To do this to a peaceful neighborhood, the people on the other side of the road of Princeton and Sherry Street. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I don't know how you'd feel if it was you and you had a peaceful neighborhood to sit outside and enjoy, and then this come in. And what are they going to do with that water? I've heard that Horse Creek floods Meadowview, right? And does it flood the fields down there where the ball teams are? What's going to be done about that? Why hasn't anything ever been done about that? It's been going on a long time. And Fred and Frank and Francis were good friends of my dad's. They and their little boy Chip used to come all the time to our house, but nothing was ever done, even though I don't know if Daddy ever complained about it or not, but we were scared to death. And we know that this right here is, I don't see how you're going to keep that water from coming up, because that is a flood zone right there. And when it rains, come out there and look. When we have a good rain, come out there and look. And I just hate to see this happen, and it's going to make property values go down, no doubt. So that's all I can think right now that I want to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Are there any other citizens? If not, I'll declare the public hearing to be over. And before the board discusses, we have to put this up to the floor. So, Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to further amend the zoning code text and map to rezone property located along Princeton Road, Newmore Road, and Sullivan Gardens Parkway from B4P Planned Business District to MX Mixed Use District in the 13th Civil District of Sullivan County, to fix a penalty for the violation of this ordinance and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Phillips. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. It's now on the floor for discussion. This is a first reading. It has to be passed 2 times to be final. Board, any discussion?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk on the flooding, and we have a lot of flood zones throughout Kingsport. And we do have, in a flood zone, you do deal with a lot of runoff. But it is my understanding, and Ken, please go through again, but I mean, if the company does something that would create or change this floodplain that affects any of the neighbors, they would be responsible for that, correct? I mean, if they're, it is a.
Factors would go into determining, liability, but, we'd have to take a look and see what the situation was that, actually caused the flooding to occur.
But in most flood zones that I'm familiar with, which with a lot of residential property in this area, especially on the different creeks throughout Kingsport and around here, you have a flood zone. It's on the map about where the water can get, worst case scenario, which you hope it never does. Right. And a lot of houses in this region have to have flood insurance for that reason, because of where. So, there is an already established line, I assume, to where the water does reach.
Well, one indication of that we have there is that's the 100-year, or what used to be called the 100-year flood zone. It's an A zone, so 1%, every year. And that's marked on that aerial that we have up there on the graphic, so.
Are the houses that they're referencing zoned in a flood zone? Do they have to have flood insurance? Are you aware of that as it is currently?
Some of them are. You can kind of see.
Some of them, you are actually to the flood zone of having to have, we have, it's a lot of property here that has to have flood insurance.
You can actually see some of them are actually in the zone there. I've got the pointer kind of close to them, these Sherry Street residences. They're actually inside it, yeah.
But this site is already zoned commercial.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know some of the comments talked about the city, like, we do not own this property. This is a privately owned piece of property that family has been trying to market for a long time. And you have a privately owned company that is looking for property, and this fits their needs. But this site is already zoned where you could have commercial, you're right next to a gas station and Arby's. You're not going to have more residential on that side of the property. It is zoned commercial. And I understand your concerns, and I'm in real estate, and I've seen this type of thing throughout the city where, you've got zoning that is already commercial and you're coming into neighborhoods. But in this situation, when you're looking for what the current zone would allow to what this zone would allow, and having a company that is a locally owned company, locally already here, has a good reputation, their people work here, if they're going to take care and do it right, this is the type of company I would rather have on a property that has a flood zone issue than having a company that's headquarters is in, some other state that doesn't really care about the community. So I would feel better about this type of company going in than someone else, since it is already commercial property.
What are we supposed to do when it comes to rain 4 or 5 days? Call you, so we're having a flood, you said you work it out, it's on my porch. What am I supposed to do?
Thank you, ma'am. This is the board's time to discuss it among ourselves, but thank you.
And this is also in the gateway zone, so there's going to be some restrictions about buffering and right? There's going to be.
Yes, ma'am, right.
Because it's in the gateway zone, we have some additional requirements for businesses, so that there is a buffer of vegetation or things, so that things aren't
Yes, ma'am. There's enhanced landscaping requirements, building aesthetics. The gateway has to review the grading plan, all the plans actually, and also to include a lighting plan. And that would be sometime in the future with a successful rezoning tonight. It would come before, the gateway once all their plans are fully developed.
But we probably would not allow like stadium lighting there 24 hours a day. I mean, you'd have to have.
No, well, the lighting has to be contained on the parcel, and the
So-
lighting plan that's a gateway requirement will
Has
have
to
to be
be-
approved by
So
the Gateway
because
Review
it's
Commission,
in the
yeah.
gateway area, there's going to be some additional requirements to make it more pleasing in appearance and,
Tremendous sensitivity to it, yes,
yes,
ma'am.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing we talked about, Betsy, at planning was, I'll get this order wrong as I did at planning as well, but this piece of property has to go before Planning Commission and then BMA, then back to planning for the actual site.
Right.
And then to Gateway. So there's a lot of checks and balances between the purchase and then final product.
and
Right.
if we didn't change it and it was just still the B, whatever, B4P,
B4P, yes,
then
ma'am.
it wouldn't have to go before any of those things. I mean, it have to go before planning, but it could, it would not.
Well, it would still have to go through Gateway. Oh, yeah,
Gateway, but it
absolutely.
wouldn't have as many checks and balances as far.
It wouldn't have to go through this rezoning process, but it would still be, B4P happens to also be one that the Planning Commission has to approve the site plans. And of course, it'd still be in the Gateway, so
Gateway.
we'd still see it on Gateway as well. Yes, ma'am.
And
Go
Ken?
ahead, did you want to?
I was going to ask a couple of issues that I heard people, I think, bring up at planning and then today that probably need to be answered, and I believe we have the answer. So with the washing of the trucks, that water will go into the sewer system. It would be illegal to put that water into a natural creek, correct?
Yeah, you would have to, our sewer system, they'll actually evaluate what their proposal is, and then, be able to permit that
Right.
as such, correct, yeah. So there's oversight on it. We don't just accept anything. It'd have to be,
Right, the
permitted. and we have to
permitting
know.
process is ensure that contaminated water doesn't go into the,
Well, it's just letting, the city, sewer treatment folks know what they'll be actually receiving from them, right?
And then.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I got two more. So the red light concerns, to me, and this is one thing we talked about at planning, I think, to me, the red light concerns are not as severe with this as it would be with a neighborhood Walmart or something else, because you've got constant hundreds of cars, traffic flow in and out all day long versus I can't remember if it was 24 or 32 trucks, but you've got 34 trucks that's it. That's the new traffic you're adding to that area is 34, which doesn't even warrant a traffic study at this point, correct?
That's correct. It'd be 34 trucks total. There'd be administration personnel going there as well, but minimal, compared to, our Fort Henry Drive Walmart's also in a B4P zone that this site's larger than that one, and it contains, it's almost over 500 parking spots, So 34 trucks and administrative personnel versus the potential for hundreds or thousands of trips per day for a Walmart, it's going to be less pressure on that red light right there.
And then my last comment on this one will be, I think it's obvious that a lot of the community in that area is probably not for this, but whether it passes or not, if it does pass, Sam a chairman of our planning commission made a really great point. Don't get started off on the wrong foot with the company. They're a Kingsport company. They're good neighbors. They're good citizens. And I think it'll be important to just keep an open line of communication. If it does pass with them, throughout this process, something I have yet to learn is what's the saying, sugar gets more than something. So anyway, but I think it'll be important to keep that line of communication open with them, that, they'll be more willing to meet with you and work with the people in the neighborhood if you have a good relationship with them. And I think, as Jerry mentioned, that they understand that it's not
it's not going to make everybody happy, but they want to do right by the company, at least from what we've been told. So that's all I'll say about it.
Any other discussion, board?
I have a question. Could as they develop that property, is it possible that they could actually enhance it to consider the flood zone, to encourage the trucking company to take that in consideration and whatever they do there to make it better than what it is today?
Well, they're certainly hyper aware of that flood zone. We had a little bit of a pre-development meeting with them a couple of months ago, just so they could throw out their concept, and that's where the need for the rezoning, came about. But we can absolutely make that request of them.
Okay.
They're very conscious of that and made sure to not, show any of their proposal or plan any of their proposal inside that zone. Just to show you right here, that's just their fence too, this border right here. That's a grass area up there, and really all the activity would be up here. Sherry Street's, those lots are, down here. But we can absolutely make that request. And I think after tonight, they're gonna, be even more aware of it.
Okay.
So.
You get more with honey than vinegar. That was it.
There you go.
I got it. It was the honey, sugar, it's all good.
Is that it, Paul?
I had to look it up real quick.
That's good.
Are you good, Paul? Any other discussion? Well,
None, sir. Well, no more than it currently does is what the plans would tell us, the engineer-approved plans. Yeah. Well, I would say that's true, but that's not the original question.
at this point, I'm about ready to take the vote, but I want to give my own reasoning regarding this situation, because I'm prepared to vote for the rezoning. I want to tell you why, because you do have concerns. First, the Planning Commission voted 7-0 for this, and that always has a lot of weight with me, because I've had several zonings I've voted on in the past, both as a city and as a county commissioner. Secondly, the city staff, this is not their first zoning. I mean, they do this over and over again, and they provide a lot of information, and they stay on top of this, and again, their recommendation carries considerable weight with me. Three, we have city codes and ordinances of various types that give us enough leeway to force a company, any company, not just this company, to comply with those codes and so forth. Like Mr. Phillips said, we have a good relationship with this company. I don't a company, but I don't anticipate a problem. But we do have that in our favor. Four, the current zoning is not considerably different from the one that we're going to vote to go to, and that was a strong consideration in my mind. Mr. Phillips mentioned the various checks and balances we still have to go through before this finally passes. This is just a first reading. It has to pass on a second reading before it becomes final. And then finally, Kingsport, we do pride ourselves on being a family-friendly community, but we're also a business-friendly community. And if a business has a reasonable request that we accommodate, that's legal and meets all the various tests like this have, then that weighs strongly in their favor. So therefore, I'm prepared to vote for this, and I'm going to call for the vote unless we have any other discussion. If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. It passes 5-1 and 1 absent. Next item. Thank you, Mr. Wayne.
Sure.
Next item is an ordinance to amend zoning of parcels 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 21, and a portion of parcel 2.10 located off Beartown Road and Deneen Lane from the A1 Agricultural District, P1 Professional Offices District, R3 Low Density Apartment District, and R1B Residential District to the M2 General Manufacturing District. Ken Weems will walk us through the public hearing.
Thank you so much. So for this rezoning site, it's in two separate sections, and you can see here on the vicinity map right where they are. There's the northern part that's separate from the larger southern part, and that northern portion is located right at the terminus of Beartown Road, approximately 17 acres right there. The southern portion is, like I mentioned, much larger in size. You can see where it is in relationship to our existing West Stone Drive Walmart, Hunter Wright Stadium, and of course the North Fork of the Holston River right there. So taking a look at all the different zones, there's actually 4 separate zones, and it's from these 4 separate zones to M2 is what the request is. The northernmost, the yellow one, is an R1B, a single-family district. The green on the side's an agricultural district. The little bit of beige at the very bottom that touches East Stone Drive is an R3, low-density apartment district. And right along Deneen Lane, that you can see coming right up from Stone Drive and entering the rezoning site, this blue is a P1 professional offices district. And like I mentioned, it's from all 4 of those zones to the M2 general manufacturing zone. And the purpose is for overburden storage and also the introduction of a new concrete plant. Taking a look a little bit closer at these, at the same zoning map, but a little bit of zoom on this one. You can see the portion at the very end of Beartown Road, and of course the main part down there on the bottom right graphic and all the different zones. Taking a look at the aerials, these still hold very true for existing conditions out there. Sometimes our aerials are a little bit behind, existing conditions, but you can see the Beartown Road parcel, the existing quarry pit in the middle and bottom picture. You got quite a bit of overburden storage that's been going on for many years right here. You can see the existing Walmart, just so you know kind of where all this is. That right there would be Tractor Supply, and that's Minnick Trail right there, just as a reference. Just like that last rezoning, this applicant was also required to turn in a zoning development plan showing what they plan to do with a successful rezoning. I've got this graphic right here, but on the next slide, it's the same stuff. I just had to zero in because the site's so large. The northern portion at the very end of Beartown Road is proposed for additional overburden storage that you can see up there. The southern portion also has future overburden storage as well. And then you also have that concrete plant down here, that proposal on both sides of Deneen Lane, where Deneen Lane cuts into the property, as you can see coming up through here. Oh, hold on. I went a little bit too far there. We have not had any calls for or against this proposal. And during their April meeting, the Kingsport Regional Planning Commission voted to send a favorable recommendation to the board in support of the rezoning. The public hearing was published on April 18th, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you. Before I declare a public hearing, does the board have any questions or comments for Mr. Weems? If not, we now have a public hearing on this particular item. Are there any citizens that wish to come forward? Please do state your name and address.
My name is Brian Williamson. I live at 234 Cool Springs Boulevard in Farragut, Tennessee, 37934. And I'm the Vice President and General Manager for Vulcan Materials in East Tennessee. And I did just want to thank y'all first for giving us the opportunity to come before you and ask for this rezoning, like Ken said, for an M2 designation. And Ken did a great job framing this up, but I just want to narrow it down. What we're really asking for is it's going to allow us to lease a portion of our property to Summers and Taylor. And so what they're operating right now on East Main Street, when they finish the downtown revitalization, they plan on decommissioning that plant. They will move a more modern plant to our facility. And so it's just a win for both the city and for us and for Summers and Taylor and for the community. And the site map we submitted also does show, like Ken said, a future site for some soil and clay that we basically move internal within our plant. But if it's okay, those are the two things we're asking for. but I kind of wanted to take a second and just give you all a little perspective on Vulcan and kind of what we've been in the community as good partners. For over 60 years, we've been the ones who provided a quality and reliable construction aggregate. And so if you think about it, it's all the stone and the rock that builds our roads, our bridges, our homes, our schools, all the vital infrastructure within the city. And we've got 15 men and women who work there, and I want to tell you, they take pride in what they do. They do it quality work, and the thing is, they do it safely, y'all. We have been injury-free since 2016, and of all the things we've accomplished, this one is the one that I am most proud of, because what it does, it shows that the team looks out for each other. They ensure that each of them return home safely each and every night to their families. And so I do take almost beaming pride in what the team does, because they are the ones who are accomplishing this. And then locally, we do support Big Brothers Big Sisters, Roosevelt Elementary, Second Harvest. And the last thing I would say is we do have great partners and friends like a family-owned business like Summers and Taylor, who are supportive of our request also. So again, I just greatly appreciate your consideration of our request to rezone, and myself and my team, we're here to answer any questions y'all have. And again, just thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for adding to our understanding of the situation and your contribution to the community.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Board, do you have any further questions or comments for Mr. Weems or for our guest? If not, is any more members of the public wish to come forward? If not, then Mr. Attorney, please publish the item.
An ordinance to further amend the zoning code text and map to rezone property located along Beartown Road and Deneen Lane from the R1B, P1, A1, and R3 districts to the M2 General Manufacturing District in the 12th Civil District of Sullivan County to fix a penalty for the violation of this ordinance and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second by Alderman? Is there any further discussion? If not, if this is a first reading, if not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 6-0, one's absent. We've reached the part now where we have citizen comment. Now, we're not intending to revisit the previous three items, because that's why we had a public hearing for those. But citizens may speak on agenda items, the items that now are on the agenda, but we're going to take up next. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address and sign the register that is provided. You're encouraged to keep your comments non-personal in nature, and they should be limited to 5 minutes. A total of 30 minutes is allocated for public comment during this part of the agenda. Are there any citizens that wish to speak to the board in regards to items on the agenda that we're about ready to take up? If not, Mr. City Manager, please proceed.
All right, the next item is consideration of a budget adjustment ordinance for various funds in fiscal year '22. This is an item coming to you on second and final reading, and we'd ask that you approve this ordinance, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend various fund budgets for the year ending June 30, 2022, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Phillips. Is there any discussion? The second readings require a roll call vote. Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper. Aye. Vice Mayor George.
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery.
Aye.
Alderman Alterman.
Aye.
Alderman Phillips.
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
Aye, the item passes 6-0. Next item.
Next item is a resolution awarding the bid for the construction of Riverbend Park Phase 1. This is an item we have been talking about for some time. This came as a result of the redevelopment district being established in the Riverbend development there next to the Fort Henry Drive Walmart. Through that, revenue was set aside through the tax increment financing for the construction of what would soon be known as Riverbend Park. This is the first phase of that, totaling an amount of $952,000 for King General Contractors, and we'd ask that you approve this resolution awarding the bid for this project.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I'm looking forward to the completion of this, but we're not really at the point where it's a good place for park visitors right now. I mean, there's not much has happened, I guess.
No, there's people that have historically gone down there to fish, and that activity continues. But once construction gets started, it's probably best to stay away from that area during construction.
Right. Oh, good point. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution awarding the bid for the Riverbend Park Construction Project Phase 1 to King General Contractors, Inc., and authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement for the same and all documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the agreement.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Phillips. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Montgomery. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 6-0. Next item.
Next item is a resolution to authorize the reimbursement of material agreement funds to Orth Construction related to the Hunts Crossing Phase 1 development. This is a housing development in the Colonial Heights area off of Moreland Drive, first phase, and we ask for you to approve this resolution, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution authorizing reimbursement of materials agreement funds to Orth Construction for the Hunts Crossing Phase 1 development.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman. Is there any discussion?
I know that there was an agreement that if it was a certain amount, that it the city manager could, is this one?
This is a reimbursement, so it's not an
Not,
authorization.
okay. That would fall under that,
Correct.
Okay.
You know, the number slips my mind, but how many more homes are we adding here in this next phase?
So I think John said today that there could be upwards of 100 homes ultimately built out here in this specific phase. I'm looking to 18.
I thought it was around 20. Okay, thank you. Any other, let's see, I put it on the floor. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 6-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is a resolution authorizing a blanket order for the purchase of copy paper for fiscal year '23 from American Paper and Twine pursuant to the Tennessee state contract. You always know it's getting to be the end of the year when you start seeing these items come up. They are setting everything up for the upcoming fiscal year. So we'd ask that you approve this resolution.
Thank you. Is there, I'm sorry, Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a blanket order for the purchase of copy paper to American Paper and Twine utilizing Tennessee State Contract 56924 for use by the various city and school departments.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Cooper. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 6-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is a resolution awarding the bid for unleaded gasoline and a resolution awarding the bid for ultra-low sulfur diesel. Again, this is setting everything up for our next fiscal year. We are seeing and we are preparing for an increase in fuel for this upcoming fiscal year. You've already seen, in fact, you had a budget ordinance on second reading here where additional dollars were put towards, from the fleet fund balance back into the operating budget there to cover the increased cost in vehicles. So we're seeing the inflation in various different areas. We'll talk about this more next week, but it has had a pretty significant impact on our budget. You actually have two resolutions to approve here, one for gasoline and one for diesel. We'd ask that you approve both of these.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, we have to take these resolutions one at a time.
Please.
Okay, please publish the first one.
A resolution awarding the bid for purchase of unleaded gasoline for use in city equipment and vehicles to Petroleum Traders Corporation and authorizing the city manager to execute purchase orders for the same.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the first resolution?
So move. Second.
Moved by Alderman Montgomery, seconded by Alderman. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the first resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 6-0. Mr. Attorney, please publish the second resolution.
A resolution awarding the bid for purchase of ultra-low sulfur diesel for use in city equipment and vehicles to Petroleum Traders Corporation and authorizing the city manager to execute purchase orders for the same.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Montgomery, any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 6-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is a resolution to award the request for proposals for our employee benefits consultant to Respondent Mark III Brokerage, Inc., and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Mark III Brokerage, Inc. Mark III, for the last several years, has been the third-party benefit consultant for the city of Kingsport. They do an outstanding job working with our HR department to work through and make sure that we have good understanding with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and also know and are taking advantage of other benefits that would be available for our employees. I will note they've held their costs for $35,000 a year, and so we appreciate that, and we ask that you approve this resolution, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution awarding the request for proposals to Mark III Brokerage, Inc. for employee benefits consulting services and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the same and all other documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the agreement and this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Cooper. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 6-0. Mr. City Manager.
All right, we now move into the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the agenda. I'll read through those. If you'd like anyone pulled for additional clarification, please let me know. First one is a resolution to reject the bid for the renovation of the former Sullivan North High School to Sevier Middle School. The second is a resolution approving a sublease agreement for the Renaissance Center space. Third is a resolution approving an agreement allowing the Kingsport Fire Department as an in-house repair center for the self-contained breathing apparatuses. And fourth, a resolution ratifying the mayor's signature for the National Wildlife Federation's Mayor's Monarch Pledge. We'd ask that you approve all 4 items unless there was any that you'd like for additional clarification.
Michael's going to come up and talk about the monarch butterfly.
I think he has an interpretive dance.
Hold on. Are there any board members that wish to consider any of these separately? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
The whole agenda?
The whole agenda as presented.
Yes, ma'am. The whole agenda has been moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Cooper. Is there any discussion? If not, Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper,
Aye to all.
Vice Mayor George,
Aye to all.
Alderman Montgomery,
Aye to all.
Alderman Ulterman,
Aye to all 4.
Alderman Phillips,
Aye to all.
Mayor Schul.
Aye to all, therefore all 4 items pass unanimously. Mr. City Manager.
All right, we'll now move into the communications section of the agenda. I want to just kind of echo the comments that Vice Mayor George made regarding the American Planning Association award that the city received. Now that John Rose and Stephen have left, I guess we can talk about them. But as John was presenting to the Economic Development Board today, a statement was made about who all we went up against or who we were competing with, as well as who had won this award in the past. And we're talking major metro areas that are much, much larger than really the entire Tri-Cities area. But going for projects that are very similar to what we have here and what we've been able to do. And so this is a big deal. As I told the board when we met one-on-one Monday, I don't know that I will be able to adequately describe to you how big of a deal this is, but it's very big in terms of just the national recognition. I also want to point out something. We talk a lot about how efficient we are and what we do day in and day out with the outstanding employees that we have. Stephen Bauer is a contract employee with us. He actually came to work with us as an intern while he was in graduate school, and then we retained him in a contract role to work with John in the Economic Development Office. Stephen, along with help from Jessica and John, put the application together that was submitted to the American Planning Association for their review and ultimate selection of this. Everybody that we were going up against had hired a consultant to put this together for them. And so I think that speaks volumes to the staff and the work that they do day in and day out. We say it often, like I've told you all, I've been here for 25 years, and we got some of the best staff in the state, if not the country, and I appreciate the work they do. It's great when we see them get acknowledged for that, and that was what occurred over the weekend. Really appreciate Jessica and John taking time out of their schedule to receive the award on behalf of the city of Kingsport. This morning, we talked at the Economic Development Board a lot about the Brickyard project, and everybody wants to know when we're breaking ground. We are at a point now where the developer has provided us a tremendous amount of information regarding giving us the necessary information for us to take the next steps, which is regarding the tax increment financing. That sits within a redevelopment district. And so I know they are looking forward to what our response will be. We will spend the next several weeks having numerous conversations with them. It'll then go back to the Economic Development Board for what we anticipate to be a called meeting later this month. From there, it'll go to the Housing Authority and then ultimately to the BMA and the County Commission for approval of the TIF. I anticipate probably late summer we'll begin to see dirt moved out there. So excited for that, excited for what that has the potential to bring for our downtown. I think 386 units, residential units that are going to be located there. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Yeah, let me add to that. I attended the economic development meeting with the city manager, and the briefing that John Rose gave, you all have seen 90% of it or so. He had a few updates and all that, but it really gave that particular audience a good feel for all the good things that are happening in Kingsport. So let me start with Alderman Montgomery. Paul?
I don't have much to say tonight, except I like the momentum that's been built throughout the city, and especially the awards, accomplishments, and I applaud the city manager and staff for the progress we're making. And I cannot say I look forward to the sausage making of the budget, but I'm looking forward to getting to understand more and make some hard decisions.
Thank you.
Okay.
James?
Just a couple things. I'll echo what Paul said about the budget, that I think our next few weeks are going to be some big meetings and some difficult discussions. But personally, I want to thank Ken, and I think he left, but I appreciate everything that Ken and his staff do in the planning department to have us so prepared, not just this board, but especially the planning board, that when you do have rezonings or things that arise of this nature, that like we had tonight, staff has us so ready and so prepared with all the information that we could possibly need, and that's just, you just can't say enough good things about that. I really do appreciate that.
James, you know, what I was trying to indicate to our citizens, that we're not acting in an arbitrary manner. There's some reasons for what we did.
And you're exactly right. And what happens is people only see when something gets brought forward to the Planning Commission or to the BMA and people come and speak against it. What they don't see is the things that come to Ken where somebody says, I want to put a gas station in the middle of this residential neighborhood. And, you know, that gets shot down, or Ken and his team take care of that out of the gate, and they're always looking out for citizens' best interest. And so that's the things that citizens don't see, that because they don't ever see something like that get turned down, because it stops at our gate stopper.
Right.
So appreciate that. And then most importantly, I was informed that it's Municipal's Clerk Week as well. So thank you, Angie Marshall.
Hey.
That's it.
Okay, Tommy?
I have one small one. Let's see, I got my oldest grandson will be running track for, let's see, Sullivan High. He'll be running for Sullivan High. And This is his first go at athletics.
West Ridge.
West Ridge.
Okay.
He'll be going there next year.
Well, he's got some athletic genes passed down now.
Well, I did run a little track back years ago.
Tommy, DB lost, but they're still tied for the conference championship.
I don't
in
know what
baseball.
happened tonight, but I don't think that game made any difference.
Yeah, that wasn't a conference game. So they still have, the first game in the playoffs is at home.
Right.
So that's good. Thank you,
That's
Tommy.
Hill.
I was gonna say, you talk about Tommy running track.
Yeah,
Last year, Darwin Bond came to get inducted into the Kingsport Hall of Fame, and he
Right.
said that someone asked him when he knew he was fast, when he realized, because he went on to run in the Olympics, and he said, I knew I was fast the first time I beat Tommy Alderman.
He
He said
did-
it's my
he
whole
said that,
career.
Tommy.
He said my whole career, everyone kept saying, wait till you race Tommy Alderman, well, if you, and he beat Tommy. He said, that's when I realized I was fast. So,
I mean,
From then on, all I did is just wipe his
just wave at him as he
hand on the way
passed.
by.
you could have run faster if you'd not carried that football with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Betsy, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, and as I was listening tonight, that I think all the discussion about the rezoning, it's a private person that's going to sell some land to a private business, and this as the city or as the BMA, we don't have a lot of say so. We can change the zoning a little bit, but the zoning in this case didn't make a lot of difference, because if a store came in there, like they said at Walmart, it would be blacktop or asphalt. It'd be the same situation. So, sometimes I think that the citizens of Kingsport think that we have a lot more power than we do. We don't want that power to be able to tell who can buy a certain piece of land, or what business can go to this place, as long as it meets the zoning requirements. So, as I heard everyone talk tonight, I'm very empathetic. I understood their issues, but as a BMA member, it's not our decision if it meets the criteria, and we're just changing from a commercial zone to a MX zone. So it's wasn't a huge, we weren't changing it from a residential to a commercial. So, we want private businesses, and I think Pat said before that we don't drive the economic development in the city. We try to support it, but we don't drive it. So we want the citizens to be able, we don't want that power, and I don't think the citizens want us to have that power to be able to tell people who they can sell to, who they can't sell to, or what business can move here. That's not what our job is. So, as I listened to the people talk, I'm very empathetic. I understood their issues, but as a board member, it wasn't enough to change. I think that what we did tonight was the best for the city. So
Is that it?
that's it.
Thank you. Vice?
Well, I've been talking about voting, and early voting results are starting to come in, and I just want to thank all the people that put themselves out there to run. It is not easy being a candidate, as everyone up here has done it, and waiting on results, and I know they're all relieved, whether they win or lose, or glad that it's over. And hopefully we'll get some really good commissioners in the county to represent us and continue to move this county forward. And the second thing is, I'm really glad the goats will be back this week. And, I'm glad it's National or Drinking Water Week, so I plan to drink a lot of water. That's all I got.
I texted Shelton during the thing and said the goats will be back on May the 7th, because he wants to have I told Chris, a parading of the goats by the Model City Tap House. I don't know if that'll take place, but he's going to try to encourage business through our goats.
Why we won the award is because of the goats.
Oh, I guarantee it.
And we need to have the goats of Kingsport.
Is that it, Ms. Colette?
That was it.
Okay, city manager, you want to say something, Tommy? Go ahead.
I just want to finish. I didn't say my grandson's name.
Yeah.
It's Carter Clendenin.
Carter Clendenin. Okay, we got it. West Ridge.
West Ridge.
Okay, you said 25 years, right? I might have to update my wardrobe. I got clothes that are 25 years old, too. Look, this past weekend, I did what a lot of y'all have done recently, and that is I got gas for the vehicle, and I went to the grocery store, and things are going up. This is well, it could be broke. The city, as an organization, faces these cost increases just like our citizens do. So we're going to go through some budget hearings next week. The city manager and his staff have been working real hard on this, and they're pretty creative and imaginative folks, but it's a situation we're going to deal with. We'll take it head on, and we'll do the best we can. So we've reached the part where if you would, citizens wish to come forward to speak on issue-oriented items, they can. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address and sign the register that is provided. You're encouraged to keep your comments non-personal in nature, and they should be limited to 5 minutes. Are there any citizens who wish to come forward? If not, we're adjourned. Go check the voting results.
Thank you for joining us tonight for the Kingsport BMA meeting. This program has been a production of the City of Kingsport in cooperation with Milligan Productions, Milligan University, and Charter Communications. For more information, visit kingsporttn.gov.